Joe and Ian from The Amazing Race, you two were involved in one of the most intense finishes of a leg I've ever seen. I mean, every episode sort of edited to pit the final two teams against each other, but viewers don't really know how close they are. You two had Morgan and Lena's rickshaw in your sights. You passed them. There's this back and forth going on, and then their driver takes a random turn saying he knew a shortcut.
Yep.
Tell me about that rickshaw experience.
Oh my! It was wild. It was wild.
What you also didn't see is Liam and Yeremi were maybe 90 seconds ahead of us. So like one wrong turn in their rickshaw, and like all of a sudden all three of us, so like exactly. It was truly a photo finish for I think the last three teams. I think Phil told us that it was like less than 2 minutes between all three of us coming to the mat.
It was a chaotic emotional roller coaster too. At the mural challenge, the last two teams were us and Liam and Yeremi. Morgan and Lena had already left. We thought they completed the challenge and they were on their way to the mat. They weren't. They were on their way to the dolls because they switched. We didn't know that. So when Liam and Yeremi left, we're like, okay, we're last. Morgan and Lena aren't even in the picture anymore. Not true. When we got to the top where our rickshaws were, saw them, boom, race was on.
And you saw that in the frame. You saw in their rickshaw dash cam, you saw us in the background getting into ours. So to your point, it was not an edit. It was fast and furious those last like 20 minutes and super stressful. What you didn't see is that there's like a 2-mile like windy single lane road going from the palace to the bottom of the town where we were behind them for literally 2 miles, weren't able to pass them. So like truly a nail biter for the last like 30 minutes of our race experience, because like we were just behind them, unable to pass them. But then as soon as we got to the bottom to the town, we zoomed by them, which is what you saw in the episode. And we thought we had it, right? Because we knew we could beat them in a foot race. Like we're both very quick. And so like, even if we got to the...
We thought both rickshaws were going to arrive at the mat at the same time. That's what we assumed. And we're like, okay, the foot race is on. So let's do this thing. In a foot race, we got this. Let's go. And then that right turn, kiss of death.
And then what you also didn't see is we got stuck at a red light, and it was one of those red lights that had like a countdown, like a timer, and it started at 120 seconds. So we just like watched it count down for 120 seconds, which was pure pain.
Yeah.
That is torture. So you get to the mat last, and then you see Morgan and Lena had gotten there. Liam and Yeremi were also there. Do your hearts just drop at that point? What's it like hearing Phil say you've been eliminated from the race?
It's not an easy thing to hear. It's not. I mean, I think what you saw in the episode and even in the exit interview kind of holds true to just like who we are and like what we went into this wanting to experience. Just like have fun with each other, get to see more of the world that we typically wouldn't have been able to see. So like, I think like, or I'd like to think that we took it with grace and, it was definitely not what we wanted to hear. But, you know, we have so much appreciation for the race and the chaoticness of the race. And if you're going to get eliminated that way. So when we were on the mat, we were like that what just happened, that was awesome. That was really, really awesome. I'm so glad.
It's what we love about the race when things like that happen. So like we knew that like watching it back, we were going to love to go out kind of in that fashion.
Yeah. And then piggybacking off of what Ian said, in that moment, you immediately start recounting all of the incredible cultural things and the incredible people that you met. No matter how, long or short your time on the race was, all of that comes flooding into your head, and it's joyful.
What is it like seeing more of the world in that way? Because on one hand, it's so fast-paced and stressful. Like, can you take it in? And then on the other hand, you're doing all these sort of amazing things that you wouldn't do. Like, if you go on vacation, you're not going to hop in a pond and like go through all of these bizarre balance jars on your head. I mean, you're not going to do these things on vacation. So what is that like?
It's, to answer your first question, it is hard sometimes to take where you are to take the culture in and to appreciate the beauty, because you're so focused on the objectives at hand. So you actually do have to remind yourselves very consciously to take it all in, right? It's not going to happen organically.
Because also what you don't see is like all of these challenges have rules, right? As they should, right? You don't want people kind of ad-libbing their rules. And so it's like, not only are you doing these unique things that you'd never thought that you would be doing, but it's like
for the pot challenge, for instance, like, do I have all 3 pots on my head? Is my donut like on there correctly? Like, do I have the 3 bean bags in the bottom pot? It's like, there are a lot of things you have to think about outside of just like, are the pots balancing on my head? Right. So yeah, it's tough to like take a step back and like look at yourself from above and say like, hey, are you ever going to be at the Pink Palace in Jaipur again, doing a traditional Indian dance in this like very traditional way? Like, never. So like,
you know, we walked away from leg 1 in Thailand thinking to ourselves, man, should we have chosen the Thai massage instead of the way more difficult sword dance challenge? And honestly, I wouldn't change it if I were to do it again. I think that was such a cool activity to do, you know, with all of these other local Thai people that were doing it with us. How unique is that? How cool is that? I was so appreciative of being given the opportunity to participate in that with them, and then all of the other ones too. Yes, we probably chose the harder challenge every single time, but doing all those activities were just so cool, and we'll never forget them.
The detour, choosing the right detour is so important. The big picture was in this one was just a killer. You're building this mural based on a photo, inserting yourself into it. Every team struggled with this. And what was interesting is that most teams chose that. They thought it would be easier than building puppets. It clearly was not. Yep. At one point, Morgan and Lena said they were there for, I think, over 2 hours or something.
And that was common.
Well, how long were you there? And like, what was it like just trying, like being told no, over and over?
No.
Did you think about switching?
We did it, and we should have.
We never thought about switching. We were there for
hour and a half.
Yeah, hour and a half to 2, I would say.
Which was common, except for Greg and John. I think most teams were there for that period of time.
Getting that no from that guy that many times with no change in his demeanor and his delivery was really frustrating, because we had no idea. And there were so many intricacies to the mural challenge. There was all of the detail of the mural, but then all of the detail of what we were wearing and how we were posing. So we had absolutely no idea what was wrong. We really didn't. And that was really, really, really frustrating. And it's crazy because we did a foot race with Todd and Ashley for that last spot at the mural challenge. We really wanted it. We kind of wish we lost that foot race.
They really lucked out. I also love that there was a very brief moment where they showed like these little monkeys fighting next to you.
That was scary, actually.
I wanted to ask about that.
No, that was actually pretty scary. Because we noticed them fighting right above us, like fighting, not like play fighting, or like fighting. And these were like they're not like orangutans, but like they were like decently big monkeys, like as big as your torso. And like then when they fell right in front of our workstation, I was like, this kind of is not making me feel 100% great. But yeah, that was like pretty scary.
Well, we've seen seasons where couples got pretty brutal with each other. I mean, this race can really expose weaknesses in a relationship or even destroy it. It shows how people handle stress together. You two never really looked like you wanted to strangle each other. What did this race teach you about yourselves and your relationship, and what was it like for you to go through this experience together?
Yeah, I actually thought that one of our main problems was going to be like me being too cool, calm, and collected, and Ian being too wound up and negative under stress if we did something wrong. And I think that I probably was not as much as I thought it would be, and neither were you. So we kind of balanced it out more than I thought we would, and that surprised me and probably helped us to not fight as much as we possibly could have.
We had a lot of conversations going into the race too, where it was like, this being in these stressful environments is not going to change the way we feel about each other. You know what I mean? Like, we just got engaged. You are my person. Like, we are who we're meant to be together. And so, yeah, we went into it knowing that like this wasn't going to change that. And honestly, like, it was tough at times. I think we both wanted to choke each other from time to time, but
leg one was tough. Getting to LAX, getting to the park with the sword challengers where
like,
there was some stress coming my way.
Yeah,
You dealt with it well, though. And just one quick final question. Phil hinted at the end of the episode that there would be a U-turn coming up where teams all vote for someone to be U-turned. At that point in the race, if you two were still in it, who would you have voted for?
Stephen Anley.
Stephen Anley. It's funny. Ian said it on the mat, and it wasn't aired, but Phil was like, "What do you have parting advice wise for these other two teams?" You turn Stephen Anley.
Yeah. I just know how strong they were as competitors, and I feel like other teams weren't quite recognizing that, and I had to let them know. Don't sleep on Annalee. Right. She is a fierce competitor.
They were doing well, and it seemed like there were other teams mentioning them throughout the race. So they could be in trouble with that U-turn coming up in the future. But Joe and Ian, it was great watching you guys. So much fun this season, and thanks for taking some time and chatting with Gold Derby today.
Of course, thanks, Denton.